Hello, everybody. Welcome to Carnivore Muscle Ramblings number 59. Wow, we're off to a bad start. I am the one and only Jerome Armstrong. Joining me, as always, is Jonathan, the original carnivore bodybuilder, and special guest today, the only guy online who quacks me up, Rick. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing? Rick?
I'm good. Just having mechanical issues.
Oh, well, what's going on at the moment?
Oh, my truck with the usual problems. And now I'm trying to fix a van, and I have a fuel line with a hole in it. So I'll solder it up. It'll be fine.
That's pretty standard, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you meant you were the one who was having mechanical issues.
Oh, no. That I don't have.
Yeah, nice. Anyway, today is another Q&A that we always host every single week. Can't believe we're on segment number 59 now. That's a lot of segments. We could almost make an orange.
That's
It's
funny.
a world of difference from 15 as well.
That's right, yeah. I think I was looking back to one of our first videos, and I was like, we got on really well back then. Like, I was watching back our interaction. I was like, that's quite profound. Usually I don't get on with many people, so it's pleasing to see that. All right. We're going to look through the chat quickly and see what's going on. I'm not the best at pressing the buttons, guys, but I'll do my best today. If not, Jerome might have to take over.
That's fine. Just let me know.
Yeah. I can see the screen today, which is helpful. Yes, definitely hit the like button upon entry. Definitely helps. Hey, Matthew, thank you for joining. Matthew also follows Coach Stephen and Richard. What's his surname? Smith on YouTube. Follow their channels as well. So it's Coach Stephen Thomas BSC and Keto Pro. I think there's a hyphen or a dash between there. I don't know. Anyway, you'll find them pretty easily. Just look them up. If not, you'll see them tomorrow on my YouTube channel, 7 p.m. UK time. That's a great place to find other like-minded carnivores in the UK. But for now, I'm dealing with someone from Wisconsin, someone from Florida. So it's a close second, I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
We're basically neighbors.
Yeah, pretty much. It's all the same place, isn't it, really? In America, it's like one big island.
Florida has alligators, and Wisconsin has serial killers. They're pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining, Ben. Nice to see you. And Baddest Cat as well. Thank you for joining. Andre, as usual, nice to see you. Thank you for joining. Rick is low-key really funny. That's what Andre said, Rick. I'd agree. I get a lot of amusement and entertainment from Rick's videos.
It's funny. I don't actually try to be funny, but I think it's just in my nature. And I do know a lot of people used to laugh at me, so I learned how to laugh with them. It's fun.
Yeah, a lot of people don't laugh enough. I'm pretty miserable for every day that I'm not speaking to someone online, I think. Well, apart from Sophie, but I don't speak to that often at the moment. She's busy doing stuff with the girls, and she's looking to do, I think, a paramedic course at the moment, so that'd be quite cool.
Oh. It's ironic because a lot of times people take life way too seriously, and one of the things that I try to do is enjoy, even if I have a problem, if I have car breaks down or the roof leaks or whatever, I always find a way to not get frustrated. I mean, what's the point? You can get mad about it, but what good does it do, really?
Yeah, that's a good perspective to have, definitely. Rick is always the funniest in the room. Yeah, I'm not feeling myself today, guys, so I definitely won't be that funny. I swear I almost say that every week. It's becoming a running theme. I can see it now, the reaction videos. Carnivore bodybuilder has no energy and no presence.
Oh, come on. With all that you've been through, it's a wonder you can do what you can do.
I think it's the age and experience, Rick. When you get to my age, you'll be able to relish in it.
I thought I was the only one that made funny jokes.
I think my jokes are awful.
Well, you know.
You're getting welcomed by Matthew as well. It's good to see.
That's
And we've got
good.
the first subscriber in, which is William McCartney, and he said, "Hello, gentlemen," and use that term lightly.
Oh,
It's fair.
Yeah. We've got, I believe, so just my perspective, another channel member of mine. I believe he's called Samson. I might be wrong. I may have butchered his name, but I believe that's his name. So hopefully, but anyway, thank you for joining. And also, Mike, thank you for joining as well. Another one of your subscribers. That was Richard
there you go.
Williams.
Yep, from Tennessee.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not doing a great job of this. Am I failing to miss questions?
Nope. You're doing great.
All right. There's a lot of new people here. Hayden,
That's a
thank you for
really
joining.
good thing.
Yeah, I don't recognize half of these names. Shah,
That's really.
Shah Yah. Nomad
I see.
Man.
I know a lot of these that comment on my videos, and I really appreciate the comments. There's Bob.
There's Bob. I know Bob. I watched
Bob's
one of his
really
videos
good.
last night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does good videos, and he asks the right sort of questions, which is cool. I like his interviews.
Well, the thing is that Bob is one of these real people. You know, you got a lot of the YouTube personalities. They got the flashy video and the editing, and you know they try to impress you. And then you have the real people like us that try to just relate their experience, and those are the ones I appreciate the most.
Yeah, but Bob's very real when you watch his videos. You can tell he's not putting on an act. He
That's
seems
right.
like a normal bloke, as we'd call it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Morning, is that the Britannica collection behind you, Rick? Brings back memories.
No, actually, it's Funk and Wagnalls.
I'm not old enough yet to know what that is. Jerome, do you know? That might make me feel
Yeah,
better.
that brings back memories.
Oh, wow. Those books look ancient.
Rick probably used to sell those door to door, the whole collection, and carry them in a backpack.
And one of those radio flyer, like pull along things.
Well, actually, I did have a radio flyer wagon. I use it as a trailer with my bicycle. You should have seen the bicycle I had as a kid. It was funny.
That was one of my favorite films are called Radio Flyer. You mentioned
Really?
I think it's from like maybe the 90s or early 2000s. Yeah. It's about a boy and his little brother. Single mum, but the single mum has an abusive boyfriend. Basically, they dream of this one day they'll be able to build a plane and escape, basically. They end up turning like a motor, a fan, and some sort of shopping trolley into a plane. And they fly away. One of them flies away, which is pretty sweet. But it's one of those sort of films you watch, you think, oh, that's quite sweet, you know, like I don't know, like cheesy American sort of stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool glasses, Jonathan. Yeah, I've got even more down here, but I won't get them all out. Rick, get the phone. Quickly. Quick. Who is it?
Is it on a cord? Is this phone on a physical cord?
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Ugh, the cordless. Hold on, let me take care of that too.
It's the other one. No worries. Yeah. Bob loves the videos. This is brilliant. We've not even answered the question yet. We're like 10 minutes in. Sean Baker, yeah. Hey, Patricia, thank you for joining. Nice to see you here.
No more disruptions.
Thank God for that. Yeah. Are your headphones quite old as well?
Oh yeah, these are Sansui. They're from the 70s. I've had them for a really long time.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Mine are, I think, Poundland.
Oh. Everything here is old.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually had more luck getting the cheap earphones. I always get the wired stuff, obviously. Oh, we've got a question. Okay, I spotted one successfully. This one's from Just My Perspective, and he asked, being new to bodybuilding, to be clear, if I still have soreness, I still must rest those groups, correct? That's a good question. I think initially when you train in, if you're quite new, and training is a novel stimulus, so it's something you've not done before at all, then you'll get soreness initially for the first few weeks. I think sometimes you can train if you're a bit sore, but it's one of the markers that Jerome and I talk about for exercise recovery. And it's probably not the biggest marker. Probably look closer at things like exercise performance over muscle soreness. Muscle soreness is more superficial, and whereas exercise performance is more, well, it's performance based, isn't it? It's something that's happening within your body. You know, you're not strong enough anymore because you haven't recovered properly to lift the next weight in the next set, for example. What's your take on it, Jerome?
Yeah, and in general, I tend to think it's probably a good idea to rest an extra day or so if you're sore. Interestingly enough, like muscle protein synthesis, your body building higher degrees of muscle goes back to normal after about 36 hours after your workout. But you can have certain elevated markers of inflammation for 48, 72, upwards of even a week or more. So I tend to think in general, if you're sore, give it an extra day or two. But in actuality, if you're relatively new to strength training, it's probably not going to do any harm if you decide you want to train, even if you're sore. It might even help reduce soreness a little bit, but I'd make a value judgment. If you're really, really, really sore, take an extra day or two. If it's just a little bit, a bit of an inconvenience, and you really want to train, then just get the workout in. But more importantly than that subjective measure of soreness is how's your exercise performance, just like Jonathan mentioned.
Yeah, cheers for that. That's very well explained. Rick, what do you think? Would you still train if you're sore?
It depends on how sore. If you're talking where I can barely move, of course not. But if it's just like if you're lifting an engine block, you strain yourself a little bit, it's not going to stop you from, picking up something else heavy. As long as it doesn't hurt really bad, I don't see why it's a problem.
Yeah. I think if soreness was the be all and end all, we probably never train. I've nearly always got at least one muscle group sore. Training like 4 times a week for the most part. I don't think it's the biggest deal, but it's that true muscle soreness where you've not squatted for a long time and you can barely sit in the toilet seat. That's when you can be pretty sure at that point you can't elicit all your intensity in the workout.
Mm-hmm.
Now Mike's got a question, and it is: what exercise would you recommend to Rick to do with his broken truck? Practical exercise to build muscle mass. Jerome, you answer this one first. I don't know.
actually using the truck, you could do a time static contraction, deadlift, or a shrug. You could lean against it and do push-ups. But there's a lot of, you could get creative. Dips, wall sits. I mean, depending on where you're at, you could do a time static contraction on the steering wheel, grip work, or if you find something to lean up against, you could do a time static contraction, chest fly. Muscles know tension and intensity of effort, so you could use just about anything as a piece of exercise apparatus if you're creative enough. But those are just a few that come to mind if you want to have a semi-interesting workout with an old truck.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I don't know what I would do personally. I'd probably do exactly what Jerome just said. I'd try and find a way to pull something as well. So I don't know, a 1-arm time static contraction, putting on the door handle or something. I don't know, or a wire, a pipe somewhere, something you can actually grip onto, a handle maybe. That'll be about it. I would love to see Rick deadlift a truck though.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I actually lifted my car one time when the jack broke, my 69 Charger. The rear tire was flat and I couldn't get the other one under it. So I loosened the tire and I had it on a block. I picked it up by the fender well and shoved the tire in. So I don't know how I did that. And today I had to push my truck because it broke down 1/8 of a mile from the house. I had to push it here. So I guess technically those are exercises.
That's more than me today, I think.
That's like those old Married with Children episodes where Al would always be pushing the car into the garage and then he'd hop in it and hit the brakes just to stop it.
Yeah, it was a Dodge Dart or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I want to point out to everyone just quickly, if you stay around towards the end of this video, Jerome and I have a big announcement for next week, which we're very excited to reveal. So stick around, we'll let you know. So the next question is from Susie Underwood, and she asked, what are your favourite exercises to develop and strengthen the hamstrings? For me, like right now, I prefer to do the seated leg curl. Historically, I've quite liked the lying hamstring curl. We're in a pronated position, but I found in order for me to really significantly load the hamstrings and get within the time and tension bracket that I'm looking at, I find that I don't get a good anchor or brace to the machine, in that I've got to grip the machine in so hard in a lying hamstring curl to keep myself from elevating my lower back upwards, which is really frustrating. So I've actually preferred just doing the seated leg curl recently. I'd say I built the majority of my hamstring development, I think, has come from a seated leg curl. I'd say the secondary exercise I used to like doing, whether or not I do it now, I couldn't really say, but it was a stiff-legged deadlift. And that was with either dumbbells or a Smith machine. To the point I could get a good stretch, but not injure my lower back. But they're probably my big two, really. The lying leg curl is optional as well. But what do you think, Jerome? What's your take?
Yeah, same here. I did stiff-legged deadlifts for years. Interestingly enough, that's for the most part an isometric exercise. The hamstrings, the secondary function is hip flexion, so they contract a little bit, but there's not a lot of hamstring movement. Deadlifts I used to really love, although there's a risk-reward element to that. I don't deadlift anymore. But a seated leg curl, I think, is about as good as it gets.
Rick, how would you develop such toned back of the legs?
That's a good question, because I've never really tried to do any real leg workouts, although in my normal life, it seems like I must be doing something right, because I pushed my truck all that way and I don't have any pain. So maybe all this bending down and picking things up and moving things around and climbing trees, chasing ducks, chasing iguanas. I mean, there is a lot of sprinting there, so maybe that might be a workout right there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sylvester Stallone in Rocky was chasing a chicken around a yard, wasn't he? So
that's right.
The same concept.
Yeah. Rick plays the real life version of Duck Hunt.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to ask, what are your guys' favorite action heroes, like either past or present?
I
could name some, so like Bruce Willis, Bruce Lee. I don't know. I'm not getting far already.
Yeah, I mean,
Chuck
if you're
Norris.
gonna take like a deeper cut, I like a lot of Scott Adkins stuff. He plays a lot of supporting roles, plays a lot of villains in action movies. More of a Stallone guy than Schwarzenegger. I'm still a sucker for like a 80s cheesy action movie, gasoline fueled explosions, cheesy one-liners, gratuitous nudity and violence, that sort of thing.
What about you, Rick?
Well, is James Bond an action hero?
Yeah.
Okay, then it would be James Bond.
Yeah, I probably have my microphone there. I'll probably have Stallone as my number one, honestly. Just for like motivational factor in Rocky, I think that's a big one. Like of all the sort of things I think of when I think of like an action hero being like motivated or inspired, it's been for him. That's really tricky, actually. I think that's about it. I can't really get much further than it. I just keep thinking of that over the top film with, is it Stallone, where he's doing the arm wrestling. That's pretty cool.
I think a lot of people miss the context of that and don't realize how big arm wrestling actually was in the mid 80s and early 90s. They showed it on ESPN all the time. They had big arm wrestling tournaments. I mean, you watch that movie now, it's a little bit silly. But I remember being a kid, 4 or 5 years old, 89 or 90, and arm wrestling was huge. So it's kind of a social commentary.
Yeah, it's interesting. Susie said Rick is OG. with the telephone and headphones.
I haven't even
probably don't
shown
need
my
to tell him.
rotary. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
I probably don't need to tell Rick that you can read the chat anyway. So, yeah, for those of you that don't know, I don't think Rick can actually see us. He can just hear us and see the chat.
Yeah.
So,
I can see the background. I can see the chat. But I do have my channel open, but there's a significant delay. So that's a little interesting.
yeah, I worked out on Bart Cave stream. It's about a 10 to 12 second delay from the time we're actually talking to the time it comes up on the screen. So it's quite bizarre. This seems to be a lot quicker though. I think the bit rate of it's a bit more acceptable, I think, for the platform.
Mm-hmm.
When were you guys born? Was it 1970?
I was born in 85.
You're older than my brother.
Hmm?
Oh wow! Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, you're 10 years older than me. I forgot. Yeah. I'm 95, so I'm still in pre-2000 era, if that counts for something.
No, your whole generation is trash.
Oh.
I'd say the generation just below me is even worse, to be honest.
No, not really.
Mm,
I'm the old one here.
yeah, you're the master, wiser, more experienced.
I don't know about that. I'm the oldest quack here. 1968.
Yeah. Got something from Tom here, who's a channel member. So he just said, just switch from 8 to 12 sets per week per muscle group to now 4 to 6 sets per week per muscle group. That could be a really good idea. It could be. Probably better for overall longevity, like with your joints and stuff. Be interesting to see how it aids you in terms of your progression if you're looking to build muscle. Jeremy, what do you think? I mean, did you notice a substantial difference when you cut back on your training volume?
Yeah, when I first cut back, I used to do 4 to 6 sets, a body part per week, and then I have further cut that back to 1 to 3, depending on how you count it. And I've only continued to get stronger and grow. When I got my first personal trainer certificate, I was told that 80% of your results from your workout come from the first set, and I think it's the guy from Kino Body recently did a video saying you get 90% of the results from 2 sets. So really, you kind of have to make a risk reward. You know, how much time do you want to spend in the gym, and how much benefit are those additional sets really getting you? You know, because for every additional set, it's a disproportionate amount of extra time that you have to spend in the gym. You're getting a smaller and smaller percentage benefit, but you're doubling, tripling, quadrupling to the nth degree how much time you're actually spending. So for me, 1 to 2 sets is about as good as it gets if you can safely generate enough intensity. But in general, the first tip I give people is whatever volume you're doing, cut it in half.
That's a good shout. Rick, do you want to add anything to that one?
Yeah, I could see, especially somebody that's older, maybe a little worn out, you know, not having to go as many times would make a difference as long as they can get stimulation. I know personally, even though it's been a long time since I tried to work out, you know, I've gotten stronger just doing yard work, and I've gotten some of my best stimulus just lifting something heavy. Like I said, I was trying to build an engine, and this thing was bigger than usual, and I had a hard time picking up that engine block and sticking it on the engine stand, and I could feel it the next day, definitely.
Sorry, I got someone walking in.
Oh, that's right. Right, he'll be back in a minute. Yeah, I've been following Jerome's program. I think you might remember from maybe a couple of weeks back. I sort of showed you on the screen, and I think in a live video, and explain like what I'm doing. So basically, it's 5 to 7 sets per workout, and that's 3 to 4 times per week. If you equate it in terms of volume per week, like sets per muscle group, I believe it works out about 2, maybe. Some muscle groups get a bit more stimulation, like the quads and the shoulders, but that's just because I want to develop them a bit more. And I feel like I can get a greater degree of, should I say, stimulation with more exercises. Sometimes I use volume when I can't really train it intensely. Not because I think it's better, but I think, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. But ideally, I'd be doing, you know, the lowest amount of sets possible. Yeah, just my perspective just said thank you. Brilliant. My pleasure. and the others. Just trying to read the chat now. So Tom asked about the Dorian Yates type split. If you think it's going to change strength and recovery in terms of muscle growth, I think. So that's basically a split which is essentially, I believe it's 2 body parts per workout. And it's about 4 sessions in total per week. And I believe it includes 1 to 2 warm-ups and 1 set to failure. So, 2 warm-ups are lightweight, then 1 really heavy weight for 1 set. And that's usually, I think it equates to about maybe 8 to 12 sets per workout in total, about 4 times per week, I think. I'd have to go back and look at it. But I think in terms of your recovery, it all just depends how hard you can train. I personally say I can recover better doing 2 rubbish sets than 1 really hard set. I personally think that 1 really hard set where I can't move the weight anymore probably is the equivalent of about 4 or 5, easy sets that you see the average gym novice do. Rick, what's your take on it? How would you go about training? Would it be multiple sets of different exercises or the same exercise?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on what the exercise is. And, like, for example, if you were doing leg exercises, you'd have to go a lot more because there's muscles you use all the time. But if you were doing chest exercises, I don't think that as much repetition would be necessary because it's just a matter of trying to build the overall strength, the overall power. And the other thing I would be is, since I work all the time outside, I wouldn't want to do too much of a workout and then be totally dead the next day and unable to work. So I would have to take all those things into consideration.
Yeah, it's all things to consider, like you said, when you formulate a training program. I've got a small ebook. I believe I sent it maybe to Rick, I can't remember. But it's Advanced Hypertrophy Programming 101, I believe. It's £10 on the website if you wanted to take a look at that. Otherwise, stick around to the end of this live premiere, and we'll, Jeremy, if he comes back, we'll answer some questions about an upcoming thing that we're bringing out soon. We got a question now from Terry. Pardon me, sorry. Terry asked, my keto number is very low on carnivore diet over 2 years. Does that mean my body is still running on glucose? Rick, do you want to have a stab at this one? I know you watch a lot of channels, so you probably have a good idea.
The way I understand is that we all run on glucose. I mean, if we didn't have any, we'd be dead. So, and I've been carnivore for so long. Of course, I haven't had a blood test in decades, but I think that in many ways, the amount of ketones, I think ketones, from what I've seen in a lot of the videos, and I know Bart K had mentioned this as well, it's sort of an emergency kind of thing. When you're starving or you're fasting or whatever, you may have to increase ketones just to survive because you don't have enough gluconeogenesis available. But over time, I think that your body adapts. And when you've been a carnivore for a very long time, your body gets efficient at the gluconeogenesis. And it also is able to use, in my opinion, I think you can use glucose more efficiently because when you're running carnivore, your body gets to the point where it can change the metabolism. I know in my case, what'll happen if I eat way too much meat, I won't get fat, but I'll be hot all night. So let's say that I had 4 pounds of steak and I went to sleep. Well, I'm gonna be pretty hot. So one way or the other, whether it's making ketones or not, I think that your body just says, well, if I have enough protein, I can make glucose. That should be fine. I don't think it really needs to raise the ketones.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, ketones are a default when probably you don't have enough glucose through, either the carbohydrate if you're eating it, or the conversion of protein into gluconeogenesis. I think your answer is pretty concise, really. The only other thing I'd probably add is that it's going to be very hard to accurately measure ketones. In that, for example, if you breathe it out, that says the ketones in your breath. If you do a blood test, that says the ketones that are in your blood. And if you do a urine analysis, that will test the ketones in your urine. But if you think of all those measures, if you measure the units in each one, you'll find each one has a different amount of ketones in it. So therefore, how would you know which is a good indicator of what your ketone oxidation is? Then the other thing as well is when you're using ketones, you might not necessarily have a high amount in your blood. And I also think the other thing to consider as well is, in addition to that, is why would you use ketones as a goal? I don't think the goal is to use ketones. And Rick made a very good point there without realizing it. He said he's not had a blood test in decades, perhaps, because he hasn't needed one. The goal isn't to test things that aren't problematic. If Terry, you came to me in a consultation, you said, my energy is low, this, that, and the other, I'll probably look at other things outside of ketones. Ketones would actually be one of the last things I'd be looking at if it was a blood test. So I understand your question, the concern, but I think you're probably looking at the wrong measurement. I'd be going by more subjectively how you feel. If you feel good and your ketone number is low, then that's not a problem. My ketone number, if I measure it, is somewhere between about, I'd imagine, 0 and 0.5. And that was a blood test I did when I used a few strips back maybe about a year ago. But that didn't mean anything to me. It didn't mean I was unhealthy or bad or couldn't train in the gym. Whereas for myself, when my ketone level's been higher, where I've done perhaps maybe 1 or 2 day water fast, I find maybe my ketones are about 3. With that being said, I feel lightheaded, I feel dizzy, I feel anxious. So, then there's other people that feel better in a deep state of ketosis. So I wouldn't personally look at that as being an indicator of good health or physique outcomes, if that's what you're asking.
I think it's a very important thing what Jonathan just said. The way that you feel, it's almost like you have a dashboard in your car and it can tell your oil pressure, temperature, whatever. That's one thing. But you'll know when you have car trouble, when it just doesn't run right. It's hard to start, doesn't have power, makes funny noises. That's when you know you're running into a problem. But as long as you do the regular maintenance, you eat what you should, it's like changing your oil, keeping your fuel tank topped off, it'll run just fine. But imagine people, they start having health issues. Now there's the problem of what do we test for? We have to test for this. We have to test for that. It's like the whole cholesterol nonsense, telling people that they need to get their cholesterol down. They need to watch their blood pressure and all that. Well, yeah, you want to watch your blood pressure, but cholesterol now we found out is not a bad thing. So I think that all this obsession about ketone levels and glucose and A1C and all that, if you're eating the right diet and you feel good, I think it's more of an average. It's something you should look at over time. You may have something elevated one time and you test it again and it's a totally different direction. So I think people are just getting too upset. And as Jonathan said, if you feel good and you're performing well, remember, when someone's getting sick, what's the first thing that happens? They feel tired. They get headaches. They don't feel good. And look at older people. How do you know they're old? Well, they can barely walk or they don't have a lot of strength. If everything is working right, then things must be good.
Yeah, that's well said. I think imagine Danine's a female. I'm pretty sure she is. And they've just added, as I understand, ketones decline over time without any carbs. We create our own amounts of glucose and if enough fat to completely feed energy. There is by nature less glucose burned. Pretty much, yeah. I think that's pretty accurate. So yeah, I think. I mean, there's some populations of people, for example, with Inuit, that just don't really get into ketosis despite a very high-fat diet. And what you got to think is our diet over a period of time, wherever it may be, historically, ancestrally, will impact how our blood deals with, how our blood produces markers based on our diet and, environmental history at that point in time. So with that being considered, I don't think the Inuit population are suffering because they're not in ketosis. Their body just has a blood marker or an adaptation which suggests, okay, they're doing something else. And if you were to adjust the data sets, Inuit aren't living very long. Well, yes, they smoke and they don't eat as good of a diet as they used to. If you adjust the data sets, it'd be a different case. If they lived that ancestral lifestyle, they wouldn't have these problems. So yeah, that was a good one to discuss. Actually, I quite enjoyed that. A question from Andre. He said, "How would you guys approach bad performances in the gym? I've been training 2 to 3 times a week. Some workouts I am weaker than normal. I don't progress in a week-to-week fashion anymore. Thanks. Rick, what's your take on this sort of question?
That sounds like me when I tried to work out. When you go to the gym, you make a little progress, and after a while, you just don't feel like making progress. I think it's just a matter of maybe you get stressed out, because that's what happened to me. If I get stressed out, then it was very difficult to even want to exercise. And even if I did, I just didn't feel any results. You need to have some time where you have, maybe have a big juicy steak and feel good and relax. I think maybe it's related also to cortisol. I know that when you get stressed out, like when I was taking care of my mom, I actually added a little body fat, even though my diet didn't change at all. So I think that, some weeks you may progress more than others. And I've noticed that, there's weeks when I want to do a lot of things, and there's weeks when I really don't want to do anything. So maybe you just have to be patient and maybe not worry about it too much.
For a non-gym goer, that's like an expert level answer, I think. Yeah, I agree with that, actually. I think, oftentimes people look at their logbook and they don't get the progress every single week. In particular, if you've been running a program for a long period of time where the exercise selection is the same, the exercise intensity, the frequency, everything's the same. You'll get to a sticking point eventually. What some people usually will then do is change the exercise or look at recovery. You might find that maybe you're just not recovering doing 2 to 3 sessions per week. You might hear Jerome say he trains 3 times. Me, I train 4 times. Some people 7 times. Some people 1 time. Some people less than that. Recovery seems to be a very independently variable scale in terms of frequency. The way I probably look at it is the trend line of what's happening from point A to point B. So if you're perhaps making some progress, maybe your time and attention or your weight or your reps is going up by, a unit of 1. And if it's 1 second, that's 1 second you couldn't do last week. And sometimes, professionals, top bodybuilders, if they're recording or logging their exercise, they'll get the same weight week after week after week. But what they're doing is consolidating that weight. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're not getting muscular. It just means that metric that you're using, the weight progression, the training performance, isn't necessarily improving. I'd think if you wanted a surefire way to sort of know that recovery isn't an issue, make sure you're following all the health hacks that Jerome and I and everyone else would probably recommend. Perhaps scale back the training frequency. If you're doing 2 to 3 times per week, try 1 to 2 times per week. If that's still not doing it, it could be a number of other things. I'd come back again to us and ask us the question again if you still get the sticking point. Might be able to think of some more things when Jerome's here. Just my perspective's favourite was Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he also said that the fact of muscle implants makes me dubious about that. Yeah, I think he did have calf implants. I think I don't know that for a fact, but I'm quite sure he did. So, yeah. And Darkfield Carnivore, thank you for joining. He said He-Man. That was a good example. Yeah. Power of the universe. All right, I'm still getting to these questions, so I'm really bad at this hosting business. I'm better at answering questions than I am at looking at the screen. Baddest Cat is also a 90s kid. Vitaligus, I hope I haven't butchered your name, said, I'm recently cut all my workouts to 35 minutes instead of 50 to 55 minutes before. Go more intense and results same. Well, you've just freed up 20 minutes of your time each day, a few times a week, so that's good going. Also, if you're training as hard as you can, then you're doing the job. So can't really fault that. That's right. It's a slow progress, isn't it? Building muscle takes a long time. Like between Jerome and I've been training for probably 40 years. Mm-hmm. As long as Rick's been carnivore. So, yeah. I think Sophie's joined. That's good to see.
Oh.
Yeah, Sophie's long hours on a Monday. She can't really make these very often. Sometimes she can make them if if I'm with her at her place and we get the kids sorted out quickly and stuff, then we can both come on, but not very often at the moment, unfortunately. Matthew said, for a question for Rick or Richard, does Richard eat a wide variety of meats or close to a line diet with duck?
Well, if you look at some of my videos, you can see some of the things that I do eat. I eat pretty much any meat that I can get my hands on. I always say if it's got a tail, it's on the menu. So when I lived near the ocean, I ate a lot of seafood. I ate fish and shrimp. Now I eat mostly beef. I eat occasionally pork. I eat chicken. My heart attack chicken is pretty well known. I mean, if you go on YouTube and you look for heart attack chicken, my video and maybe JT's videos and a couple other videos will come up. It's actually very delicious. But yeah, duck, I mean, turkey. I'm going to make a turkey cooking video about how I make it my way of, cooking turkey. I'm not going to call it heart attack turkey. I'll call it something else. But what I do, since a friend of mine gave me a frozen turkey, when I defrost the turkey, I cut it up. I'll put it in beef tallow and cook it up that way. And it's really good. Of course, I'm still in a semi-euphoric state because I had for the first time this year, or first time in many years, I had a tomahawk steak. Was it
Nice.
a 3-pound tomahawk steak? And I ate the whole thing in dinner. I had the bone in my hand. I was chewing on it like I was the Flintstones. It was so good. I was like, wow, you talk about a cheat meal. That's the ultimate cheat meal. It was so delicious. But yeah, I eat any kind of meat that I can get my hands on.
Yeah, sounds all right. I mean, we get it depends where I'm at. If I'm at Sophie's, I often have like a beef brisket and I'll slow cook it. If I'm at my place, I've got a little bit more time in my hands because there's not 2 little girls running around, So I'll be a bit more adventurous with my food and I'll cook something up a bit more, meal by meal, pretty much. It's just the way I do it. But yeah, I do mostly a lot of beef, a lot of eggs, a lot of dairy, a lot of fish. So I couldn't really say I do one food in particular. I seem to notice in the colder months I prefer more fish and eggs. Probably, I don't know, more cholesterol, more vitamin D building stuff. I don't know. That's what I think, but that's just what my appetite tells me. Towards the summer, I get a bit nauseous if I eat too many eggs, I notice. So we're now going to be joined by someone called Nicole. How you doing?
Whoa.
So move yourself along. Yeah. So Nicole's just quickly come on to join us tonight for a little bit. She just came off an interview with someone. I can't say who. Yeah, Stephen. So yeah, I appreciate her coming on. We're just answering some questions at the moment.
All right. I don't know how long I can stay. My car's in the shop. I got my check-in engine light came on before Thanksgiving, so I'm waiting for the dealership to call me and say I can pick it up and how many hundreds of dollars it is.
Should have just got Rick to do it. Threw him over.
I need his bike.
Yeah. Susie said, not a health professional here, but what is the benefit of measuring ketone levels unless you're tackling specific health concerns like seizure control? Exactly, yeah. I mean, the only kind of studies we have on ketones are not so different to the ketogenic diet when you're, eating a low carbohydrate diet with a decent amount of fat. You're looking at diabetes, we're looking at grand mal seizures. I know someone personally put his brain cancer into remission for 8, 9, 10 years at this point with a Paleolithic ketogenic diet. So, that's the only real thing in practice we've seen documented to be useful for at least having a high ketotic level, apparently. Matthew's got a question for me. I'll try and get through this quickly because it's mostly just for me, I think. So how is Jerome and Jonathan's resistance training going? When are you next doing bodybuilding competitions? I can't speak for Jerome because we've not really touched much on it recently, but I believe he's currently doing 6 sessions per week of 1 set. More of a way just to spread out the frequency, and it gives us something to look forward to each day, which I think is pretty cool. I think it probably won't impact his recovery. I think he'll get the same results as he would before. I think it's probably more sustainable as well because he trains where he works. His gym is his own studio, So it's very possible for him to do. But for me, I don't fancy cycling to and from the gym 6 times per week to use some equipment. It's just not that much fun. My training is going very well. I'm still pretty burnt out from training, even the low volume stuff that I am doing. So I'm just resting a lot. So every time I'm not making a video, consulting with a client, coaching someone, speak to family, speak to Sophie, I'm resting. Or I'm spending 6 hours battling with the computer or yelling at idiots on the internet for the most part. Yeah. I think we've already answered this one. Yes. So, Nicole, if you want to tackle this one first. So, Matthew asked, dips causes comfort in the left front deltoid. Is a time static contraction dip an effective exercise?
I don't do dips. I'll do like dips like on the floor and stuff, but I'm not strong enough in the upper body to. But I found when I tried it in CrossFit that it caused discomfort for me as well. But that depends on where you hold your hands too, like the positioning. So for me, I messed with my positioning and that helped the discomfort because I had the same thing. But other than that, I don't really do dips. So I'm not the best one to answer this question. That's not my preferred exercise.
Yeah. I quite like dips. Mostly because I think it works all 3 heads of the tricep and it gets the tricep in a position where it's really short. But I can understand why people wouldn't like it because it does put a lot of shearing force on the elbow joint. Also, like Matthew's mentioned, the front delta will be quite stretched out as well. I think if he still wanted to include this exercise in his program, I'll be looking at limiting the range of motion of it. So rather than getting his elbow right behind him, he might perhaps do 70% of the way there in terms of his range of motion. Then rather than, say, locking out completely or going to the absolute depth of the exercise, I'll just stay in that mid-range and just hold it there for as long as possible. Alternatively, what you can do is a push-up, simple push-up on the floor. Put your elbows and hands a bit closer together. But what I recommend is if you have issue in your front deltoid, to actually pinch your shoulder blades backwards. That means your front deltoid is less likely to be activated and it's more likely to be your chest that comes involved. As the chest will be more so stretched in the bottom position of that movement, the shoulder becomes less targeted, if that makes sense, as a primary mover. But these are all just little cues, little suggestions I'd make. If you try all that and nothing works, you still want to train, I'll probably pie it off for a few weeks and just take a good bit of time off and look at something else. Also manipulate other training variables, such as perhaps doing different hand positions and grips with chest pressing movements. And that might also reduce some of the wear and tear.
I was
Rick,
right.
Yeah. In essence, we got there in the end. Rick, what's your take on time static contraction dips?
Well, the only thing I can tell you from experience is one time I had a bad experience with dips. I had one of those universal machines, and it has a little dip bar that you hold on with the grips. Well, the bolt on the bottom was damaged, and when I was doing a dip, it broke, and I ended up falling on the floor. So that was the only time I ever had discomfort with a dip exercise. It wasn't time static contraction. It was more like try to hold on before you hit your head on the floor. That's pretty much what happened.
Huh.
Yeah, I just want to get to a good point that Darkfield Carnivore made about the ketone, just while it's still fresh in everyone's head. So yes, we only shift out ketosis when we eat. So when insulin rises, ketosis go down. They kind of counteract each other, not because that's how they work, but there's a cascade of other hormones which come into play, which cause that downstream effect. And he also says nature doesn't provide year-round glucose. Absolutely, completely correct. So if Rick was eating his seasonal local diet, he'd probably always have some kind of glucose. Myself, nothing. There might be some berries in the forest down the road from me, but that's about it. There's not going to be a lot for me. So I think definitely seasonality and things like that comes into it. And yes, agricultural revolution has definitely impacted the way we eat. And even if past 50 years, like we can look at the food frequency data we have, at least in the UK. We were eating 3 times per day. Now we're eating 6. So I completely agree. Our default human state, which we walking around for the majority of the time, would be in ketosis. But he also mentions in a good point, which I'm going to bring up on the screen next, which is the numbers don't matter, but the state is vital. Yes, because if we didn't have ketosis, we'd all be dead because we'd have no fallback to go to. As soon as we run out of food for 2 days, we run out of muscle glycogen. That's it. So yeah, it makes sense. Right, back to questions.
I do. It
Yes.
wouldn't be me if I didn't say one controversial thing at least once a stream. So no, this isn't going to be. I'm just kidding, Jonathan.
Okay.
Ish. No, but a lot of people do mention the difference in food when it comes to agriculture and all that. But there is a difference in our meat too. Like the types of animals we're eating didn't exist, back in the day as well. So we're eating different foods, like different animals, but we're also not getting the same nutrient profile as well because before the meat hits the grocery stores, the blood's drained from the animal. So I wouldn't say it's just agriculture that's different. Our whole food supply is different to include meat, where our nutrient profile eating meat is vastly different than, I guess, if you want to talk hunter-gatherers, and the types of animals we're eating are different as well. So I think our whole food system is different, and for the most part, garbage.
I've got a good point. Well, I think it's a good point. And I thought this up the other day. I was lying in bed at 2:00 in the morning. I woke up. I was thinking, I wonder why white bodybuilders have such a great disadvantage in bodybuilding competitions as opposed to black bodybuilders. And this isn't a racist kind of start or anything, but basically, obviously, a darker person will have a greater complexion, and they won't blend into the light so much when you're under those bright lights. You're more of a silhouette. There's deeper lines. There's more darkness and shadows. Another thing that I notice is a lot of black bodybuilders will actually have what we call fuller muscles. So, for example, someone that's very glycogen depleted will look flat. They'll look gaunt, and their muscles will appear stringy. They won't have that pop to them. Perhaps less detail as well. Now, I think, based on pure guess, that people of the equatorial region of the globe, so, if they stem from Africa, for example, I believe they historically would have had more leaner meats. And therefore, the protein concentration of their diet, I couldn't really say how much, but it would have likely been higher as opposed to fat. So they would have had to have a greater level of gluconeogenesis, to convert into cellular energy, to ATP eventually downstream. I think that white bodies have that disadvantage because they can't turn over glucose quite as well as black folk, in that they evolved to eat more fattier meat. So we know after the glacial periods, the woolly mammoth, the big fatty animals, would actually go north towards not into the, I don't know if they went into it, but towards the Arctic Circle. So they would have had more fat in abundance. They would have got a carcass with all the fat and all the meat. So they wouldn't have had that genetic adaptation to have more gluconeogenesis on demand to that great of a degree. So I'm talking about extremes here. So I'm saying we can still create glucose through gluconeogenesis. I'm talking about the extremes when you're actually glycogen depleted. I noticed that black bodybuilders tend to not look as deflated as white bodybuilders. And that's my anecdote based on a best guess. Is that a fair statement, or I'm talking about my backside?
Oh yeah, I have no idea. I feel like if we're talking evolutionarily, we ate from the land and what was readily available. So different parts of the world ate different foods. That's why people are more tolerant to things like my heritage and my dad's side's Italian. So we don't have gluten issues, but also there are pasta, they don't have gluten. Like that's a primarily a US thing too. But yeah, different parts of the world ate different foods. But the foods we're eating now are vastly different regardless of where you are, to include meat. That's just the point I wanted to bring up, because a lot of the comments I see, and I say this a lot too, is agriculture, but our meat is also different as well.
Yeah, he's raised another point. So darker people are genetically heat adapted with bigger limbs and smaller torso, and therefore have more round muscles. White people from cold regions have small limbs, flatter muscles, bigger torso. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, if I look at, say, the top 10 black bodybuilders ever and the top white bodybuilders ever, I'd say the black ones tend to have longer limbs. So
They look bigger too.
yeah,
That might be because of what you said with the lighting and all that.
yeah, I think it's probably a few things. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not. I can only speculate, really. Do we have more questions? I can't see. I feel like we do.
There's one at 3:01 or whatever time it is there. 8:01 your time, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, got it. Thank you. So I won't be able to pronounce this. I'll say Peter Kulak. Probably got that wrong. Is it possible to progress with weights and reps but not gain muscle? Yes. However, I'd say after a period of time of progressing with weights and reps, you'll inevitably would have gained muscle. Assume you're training to build muscle. I sometimes see people that get stronger and better with different performances in the gym, but the problem is they're not targeting their muscles. So, for example, a CrossFitter, they're not trying to be big and bulky, but you can see them improve week to week. So it depends how you're training. That probably comes into it as well. What do you say, Nicole?
Yeah, same. I don't know how you would not put on muscle mass, lean muscle with weight training unless you're not activating the muscles. Because I do see people in the gym, not to make fun of women or isolate women, but mostly women who do like curls and just go like this, but they're not really activating anything. They're just going through the motions. So yeah, if you're not activating your muscles properly, then I can see that. If you're also lifting too light for too long, you're not going to progress in gaining muscle as well. So I think it's a nuanced question to make sure you're activating the right muscle group that you're aiming for, and to make sure the load is appropriate for where you are in your journey, and you're not lifting too light. If you are lifting too light, then maybe increase your reps and slow up and slow down to really get that activation in. But yeah, that's all I have to add to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Rick, what do you say towards it?
It's hard to imagine how somebody could determine exactly how much muscle they're gaining, because if you're getting stronger, maybe it's just the muscle has a lot of fat around it, and maybe you're losing some of that fat, and then your muscle itself is growing, which is making you stronger. I mean, there's no way that you could get stronger without any kind of muscle growth. So maybe it's just that the muscle looks like it's not growing, but it's actually growing, and you don't really see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so hard to measure. I mean, if I do my best ever, like, I don't know, shoulder workout, I do that and say I know it's the best workout I could possibly do for a year, I might not even see that result visually at this point in time. Initially, if it is my first year, yeah, probably get some benefit, a bit more detail, a bit more like bulkiness, but I don't think I'd actually see much. That's a very good point to mention, actually. Okay, we've got more questions. I'm sure we do. I'm just not looking.
We do it 3:14.
Okay, thank you.
Further down.
I think that's it. What do you guys think about doing year-round cardio, incline walking to maintain a lower body fat level?
That's what I do. So I don't run anymore because the impact is I have bad knees, so it's bad on my knees and hips and all those things. But I make sure I lift. I'm a lifter, mostly powerlifting. I know Jonathan does more so bodybuilding. I powerlift, but I lift first, and I'll use the cardio as kind of like either an active recovery, like on my off days, or I'll use it as kind of like a cool down. To kind of break up the muscles and all that, to especially if I do a lower body workout, to break up the lactic acid and not give it a chance to build up as much. But yeah, I do incline walking at the end of my workouts, but I don't go out of my way to do cardio as its own exercise. I use it kind of like as a cool down and kind of to relax the muscles a bit and just get them moving, especially if I do a lower body workout.
Okay, that's cool. What about you, Rick? Would you do year-round cardio if you wanted to maintain a leaner body?
I don't think it really makes a difference. I'm always on the move, and body fat doesn't seem to change much. But I think that in terms of health, yeah, of course, you got to move around if you can. Now, if you're injured and you can't really do anything, then you can't do it. But in my case, it's like now, my truck broke down. So how do I get around? I walk and I use a bicycle. So, yeah, I mean, why not? If you can do it, whether or not it decreases your body fat, it's still going to make you healthier because all that circulation, plus being, if you do it outside, you're going to get vitamin D from being out in the sun. So I can't see any downside to doing it. I don't like the idea of intense cardio like some of these people do. They go on the stupid exercise bike or the treadmill or whatever. Of course, the treadmill is nothing but a closed storage in most houses. It's like most exercise equipment just turns into a cluttered junk. But if you can go and do like an activity you like, I think year-round cardio is a great thing.
I forgot to mention before Jonathan goes, it depends on what your goals are too, because I just reread the question. You're talking about to maintain lower body. So it depends on what your goal is, because have you ever seen a bulky, like a muscular runner? No, because when you do cardio, you're burning through your fat. So if you're looking to put on muscle, I wouldn't do, like Rick said, I wouldn't do intense cardio and all that stuff. I would just use it as a cool down. That's what I use it for. But it depends on what your goals are too. If you're looking to put on muscle, I would focus on weights and all that, and use cardio as kind of like a cool down or a supplement. But it depends on what your goals are. Is how I would use cardio. I just wanted to make that distinction because I just reread the last part of the question.
Yeah, I think Jerome and I covered this. I believe it was last week or maybe the week before. And there's a question about cardio for getting into contest shape, and I think that same video will apply to you. Now you're using it more in the context of like day to day maintaining a low body fat level. Personally, my main thing I'm thinking about when I'm trying to maintain a lower body fat level is the diet itself. If you have the best cardio program ever, it's only going to count for maybe 10 to 15% of your actual fat loss results. So I personally wouldn't be looking there. I would argue that cardio on the treadmill, if that's what you're mentioning in terms of incline walking, I'd honestly say go outside and do it. I can do it outside. Sophie can do it outside. We go outside. We'll walk sometimes if we have a period free where, say, for example, she's at an after-school club. Tilly, the younger girl, she's at an after-school club. We'd go for a long walk, like 20, 30, 40 minutes. I wouldn't ever walk on a treadmill personally unless I had no other option and I was at the end of a contest prep and I had to do something and it was raining outside. I'd always expose myself to the sunlight if possible and do it outside. Personally, I think if you're doing resistance training, to a good degree, it's fairly intense. You don't need to add in supplemental cardio. I would argue it depends what you're doing day to day as well. So, for example, Rick, if he's physically active on the yard, he's doing stuff, it's strenuous. His heart rate's going to be elevated, but that's only so he can perform the work that he needs to be doing. Now, if he is completely sedentary, I'd probably just say to him, go for a walk a couple of times a day for 10, 15 minutes. I'd argue that doing too much, as in, people that are on the treadmill for an hour each day, I'd rather not see them do it. I think it will age you. I think you'll become older doing it. I think it's a stress to the body. It's needless wear and tear. There's no adaptation that you probably need in the Western world to be able to walk an hour each day. So I think it doesn't have a necessity. I'd be looking at the diet first myself. I'm pretty anti-cardio, and Jerome's the same, but only because we've looked at some research, which is basically stating, 20, 30 minutes of resistance training a week will give you as much benefit as, loads of cardio each week. So that's my take on it. I'm not saying for people to be sedentary and lie in bed all day. I'm just saying don't actively pursue lots of steps and lots of, joint straining, knee straining exercise. I think it could be detrimental for some people, but it depends what you're doing. Like Nicole said, depends what your goal is and where you're at right now. The next question is on the Harambe system, which we've been asked before actually, but I can't remember what it is. So I'm going to look it up quickly and just try and summarize it. If you haven't heard of it, Nicole, at all?
No.
Okay.
It's similar to the X3 bar, you said?
Yeah, looks it.
It's more similar to a barbell.
Okay, so yeah, it actually looks like a barbell with with a band around it. Well, personally, I'd probably use that supplementary with my Ultimate Home bodyweight workout that I posted about 2 months ago. That's the way I'd go. What I'd do is all of the bodyweight exercise you can do, then find a way to add that resistance band bar Harambe system to it. So, for example, push-up, you might have the band around your upper back in the push-up position. If you're doing a squat, you might have it overhead on your neck, on your shoulders, your upper traps. Honestly, I think you'll probably get 80 to 90% of the results you'd get in the gym doing that same sort of workout, providing you can find a way to continuously adapt the workout to make it more intense and difficult. I think that's the main key, really. Where people start to have problems with certain gym systems or certain exercises, certain piece of equipment, is the fact that they lock you in position. That's where the benefit of, say, for example, a machine weight will come in if you actually used a gym. So a machine weight will take you for a different area of the movement, which actually might be, should I say, maybe less ergonomic in a sense, but still provide a good stimulus, but in a safer manner. I think there's probably a limitation there with the strength curve for a lot of these things, just because if, for example, you're doing a banded squat when you're standing up all the way at the top, you're not going to be resisting any weight. It's just going straight through your spine. Whereas if you did 90% of the movement and didn't lock out the top, the weight would still be resisting against you. So there'd still be a load to stimulate the muscle fibers. But I don't know if either of you two had any sort of take on that at all. So it's essentially a bar with bands around it to hook over you and stuff.
I mean, I personally like resistance training. I looked up images on what it looks like. It looks like good stability too, right? Because you'll have to activate your core and make sure you have proper technique to maintain balance and form, especially when you have resistance band attached to a bar. So I would say if you are going to use something like that, to make sure you're using proper form and you are activating your core and your glutes and all that, if you are going to do that to prevent injury, because I would think it would be easier to get injured using something like that than a free barbell.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm going to continue looking for questions. I just want to say hi to Lambs in the chat, actually. Thank you for joining. God, I'm terrible at this. Okay, I found out where I was. I think that's it for questions today. I might just scroll through the chat and see what people have said. So Mike said, I do cardio each day, then weightlifting in the afternoon. Sometimes I may skip weightlifting. I make sure I get some consistent period of movement in. Yeah, I think it's better to do something than absolutely nothing. You know, like I'd rather see someone walk half an hour each day than sit idle. I think there's just a fine line when people start using it as like the workout. So they go to the gym, they'll do, one set of 2 or 3 exercises, then their workout is the treadmill. I personally don't like that much. But yeah, if you enjoy it and it makes you feel good, then keep at it. And Susie, she just said, I dance a couple of times a week for fun, plus walking and hiking. Basically, I don't do cardio unless it's enjoyable. Exactly. You know, you got to think about people on the treadmills that you see. And Rick, you probably noticed this when you were in the gym maybe years ago. You know, they don't look happy. They're panting,
No.
sweating, they're stressed out, miserable. They're often wrinkled, no collagen in their skin, they're tired. So that kind of tells you a thing or two about how great it is for health outcomes.
Yeah, that's like all the people that run all the time. Everybody I know that does a lot of running and intensive biking and stuff like that, they all look older than their age. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can say I certainly looked older when I was doing like 15, 20 hours a week of exercise when I was younger. You know, I think it certainly aged me a lot quicker than it should have done. But yeah, I think something you enjoy, you know, if you're going out dancing, chances are you have a partner, a friend, the people around that you know, you're enjoying that. That makes you happy. You know, that's worth the investment of your time.
Yeah.
It's worth the increase in heart rate, I'd say. I do like the idea that we have a limited heart rate or amount of beats we can have in our lifetime. I think we couldn't really approximate that, but I say it's probably a good way to think about it, at least. You don't want to waste your time doing something you don't enjoy at the end of the day, isn't it, really?
You know, everybody I know that lived over 90, they had the attitude of only doing what you really need to do and don't torture yourself and don't drive yourself crazy. Every one of them. I used to joke about people. I said the junkie people live the longest because it was always the person that had the old house that was kind of like strange looking. They always seemed to live the longest. So yeah, I think that the stress and unnecessary movement is just going to wear you down too fast.
Yeah. She made another good point. Cardio is good for muscle endurance, but you could get that through wall sits too. Yeah, if anyone's ever done a wall sit for, I don't know, over a minute, maybe a minute and a half, that's hard. Your heart is pounding. You know, it's hard for your body to resist that. You know, as difficulty level goes up, as the muscle fibers produce more lactic acid as a buffer, you start to notice that you need more oxygen. Your body needs the oxygen to cycle through that waste, that byproduct. So when I'm doing my workout, you know, 5 sets, takes me 25 minutes or something. If that, I'm trashed. At the end of it, I'm sweating. I'm messed up. But it's not because I've endured the workout. It's because I've committed to the intensity of the workout. That's what's been the big thing for me, I think. That's a good point, Rick. Yeah, exercise in the cold is a great way to expend energy. I got shredded out of my mind in 2021 on the carnivore diet, and I was doing, if we're talking about calories here, I was eating something like 4,000 a day, maybe a bit more. But I was exercising every day, so my exercise was always outside. So we're in the middle of like a lockdown period. So it's all body weight stuff, like stuff I had in a home gym, a few barbells sort of things. And I was walking twice a day for half an hour, and I got absolutely ripped in like 2 months. Usually it'd take me about maybe 3 months from the start point that I was at in terms of body fat. So I certainly think there's something to cold thermogenesis. Yeah. I don't know if there's any more questions. I'm just looking for question marks now. Do you need to add any fats on the Lion diet, or is it just all fats coming from meat? I personally would add fats just because when I tried it, I end up having to add so much tallow to my diet. I just couldn't get enough fat from the meat I was eating. I actually, I equated my macros, and I found it so difficult to eat much fat. I was literally like spooning fat out of the, the tallow jar, the dripping jar. So, but Rick, do you ever have days like that where you just eat beef only, and do you find like if you eat too lean, you feel a certain way, or if you eat too fat, you feel a certain way?
Absolutely. If I don't eat enough fat, I start to get lazy, and I get really lazy. So if I was to eat just, relatively lean beef, probably around lunchtime, I'd fall asleep. Sometimes I'll daydream. I just have no energy. So I have to make sure I have something like heart attack chicken or, something that's extremely fatty. And then that way I got plenty of energy. But I could definitely tell the difference. And it only takes 1 or 2 meals to really feel the drop in energy.
Mm.
Oh,
yeah.
Rick, I'm going to regret asking this. What do you daydream about?
It's interesting because most of the time it's just like normal life. The last time it was like a couple of weeks ago. I think I didn't eat enough. I mean, I was running a little bit low on meat, and I ate some of that lean stuff. And I was actually dreaming about a hurricane that was coming. And then I woke up. I realized, wait a minute. It's end of the hurricane season, and I've had dreams about chasing ducks, and I've had dreams about normally when I dream, it's like real life is just worse. So it's like everything breaks down at the same time. Everything's causing problems. Things blow up. Things burn down. But then I realize, sometimes I'll be going up the stairs and the stairs will fall apart, or my car disintegrates when I'm driving. It's just like real life, but dysfunctional.
Speaking of car, I had to turn my camera off because the car dealership called me. It'll be done at 6:30. They've had it since 8 o'clock this morning. It is now 3:30, so we're going to have it for another 3 hours. And yeah, $2,000 later, I'll have a car.
My whole car costs half of that, so
I'm not allowed to drive a car. I've run over too many people.
My van caught fire when I started it, and I found the problem. It's a rust hole in the fuel line, little tiny rust hole sprayed on the exhaust. So I'm fixing that problem. I'll go ahead and solder it. I'm too cheap to buy another one.
Yeah. We've got a question. It's from Mike, and it is, what do you think of Sam Sulek's exercise routine? I'm watching him regularly, and I think some tips he's giving out are legitimate. Honestly, Mike, if I'm being completely honest, I don't watch any other YouTube trainer. The only videos I really watch, like bodybuilding training specific, are Jerome's ones when he can be bothered to upload them. Today he did actually upload one, so check out his channel. He spoke about testosterone replacement therapy, so that's quite an interesting talk. Outside of that, not really anything. I listen mostly to podcasts about bodybuilding, so they talk about the competition side of it, maybe what's going on in the industry. In terms of people I actually do watch, James Hollingshead, Jordan Peters. That's about it. I feel like I've seen everything already. I feel like workout videos, to me at this point, are a little bit redundant. I think I've got to find my own way at this point. When I was a beginner, I watched everyone's stuff. I watched every video. So I realized how much differences there were. And I kind of realized at that point, okay, I'm not going to get my best physique outcomes trying to follow all of them. I have to find one way and try and find out what that is. That's a good question. It could be legitimate as long as they practice safe principles, training hard, intensely. I don't know. Have you seen his stuff, Nicole, too?
Yeah, I just more so critique his trash diet. But as far
I did that as well.
But as far as his exercise, I don't really follow him that closely just because I just don't like the content he puts out. A lot of teenage boys follow him. But as far as his exercises, he does show his workouts and what he eats in the day video. And yeah, they look legit, and he has good form. He knows what he's doing, for sure. But his diet's trash.
Yeah, it's pretty atrocious. I used to do the same diet, so I'm not saying this hearsay like, oh, I think he's rubbish because he's not carnivore. I did do that diet. I was on a diet which was hit your protein, then fill up your calories throughout the day, whoever you could. Donuts, rice cakes, biscuit, pizza, whatever.
Ew.
But I was getting to a point where at the time I was about 20 stone, so about 125 kilos. I think it's 275 pounds. I was a bit fatter than what I am now, but I had to eat so much food to maintain that. Like, I was constantly eating. So I never had a point during the day when my stomach wasn't stuffed. So I think a lot of it is bloat and stuff, but yeah, I felt horrendous. But I did try that, and I didn't gain more muscle for it. So what does that tell you? Rick, have you tried like this force feeding stuff before, like, to gain weight? And
Well, I mean, my diet would be considered force feeding to some people, but it's just my diet is limited by how much food I can get my hands on. When I got a lot of meat, you'd be surprised how much I can eat. And I saw this guy, Sulek or whatever. He's there eating nasty duck food, and it looks like he's got acne on his body, probably taking steroids. So I wouldn't take any advice from somebody like that. The smart man watches Jonathan's channel and learns real information that they can use.
I'm definitely going to take that compliment. Appreciate that.
It's deserved.
You're too kind. Sometimes, as long as you're too kind, Rick, it does mean a lot. I do take compliments quite kindly nowadays. I used to not care for them, but now I realise with such negative people in the world, when someone actually does say something like, it must mean something, So.
Well, you know me, I don't like to BS anybody. I'm pretty direct. That's probably one of the reasons that some people just don't like me, because I just say what I think. But the main thing that I've learned is that what you've said is the same principle that I use. If you're going to run your body all out and abuse it and treat it like crap and work it to the limit, it's going to blow up just like an engine you don't take care of. But if you use the principle of trying to do the minimum possible to get the results you want, I think that's where the success comes in. And that's why you are the carnivore bodybuilder online. You're the only one that I follow. So there's something to that.
Yeah, that means a lot. And, not to discredit other people, there are others that do it as well, like Colt Milton, Mark Ennis, Rob Goodwin. There's a handful of people that do carnivore style fitness or bodybuilding or keto to some extent. So, but I think at the end of the day, like, you've got to look at someone who's done it, who's been on stage and actually applied the diet and actually done it. As far as I'm concerned, other than Colt, I think I'm the only person that's actually done it. So, I think it stands for something. It means something, maybe. But anyway, I've just pulled up on the screen. You'll see here Sam Sulek's training video. So I've not seen this before. I just scrolled through the video to find a bit where he actually lifts some weight. We're going to do a little critique video, a mini critique. So Nicole might like this one. Rick, you can give your 2 cents as well, so feel free.
Let's do it.
All right. So it's not playing any music. Actually, I'll play sound for you. So what are your initial thoughts looking at this, guys?
I think he's lifting too heavy because he's putting his whole body into it.
Terrible form.
Yeah, I mean, Rick's not a bodybuilder, and he's correctly analysed this video. Terrible form. Couldn't summarise that better myself. So what you'll see here is he's put 2 extra weights on it. So there's a stack here, and that's the actual weight.
Those are like 25-pound plates, it looks like, too.
They're 45-pound plates.
They're 45
yeah,
pounds?
They're big plates. Yeah, big plates.
I can't. It doesn't look big from my angle, but okay. Either way, that's dumb.
Yeah, these are the 15s above. These are the 20. Oh, sorry. In 15 kilos, 20 to 25 kilos.
Oh, I was thinking, yeah.
So I'm using that as the point of reference.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, you're completely right. Like he's just heaving it down.
Yeah.
So he has to contract his obliques, the side muscles on the left of his torso, to bring the weight down. Another thing is you can see he's trying to bob his head to get more momentum. If you train like mine or Jerome's training principles, you try to keep things quite neutral. Where your eyes go, usually your body follows, but that means the inertia will also follow. So, if you look up like that and you're doing a deadlift, well, your spine's going to go like that, and it's going to hyperextend. So it's all about physics. And so from this individual clip, this one clip, I don't think it's good practice personally. We'll look at some other stuff as well, just to be fair. So I don't know what he's doing there. Was that it?
Oh, here we go.
Sorry, I don't know if he's actually doing something here.
Yeah, there he goes.
This is waste of time. So basically what he's trying to do here is target his lat muscle. But we have a very effective piece of equipment for that. And it's called a lat pull down. Funny enough, Rick would know what it is. It's just a cable.
I have
pull
one.
down the machine. Exactly. Just pull it down to you, whatever grip you find comfortable. With that, if you're standing up, you're increasing the inertia because you don't have an anchor point. So every muscle in your legs is going to come into it to balance you out. Also, the weight is so far from his body. A fully stretched lat isn't out here. It's probably somewhere up here and up here, maybe. So that tells you he's not getting a full range of motion. Same with the last exercise. So from these two exercises, I don't think it's a great workout. We can look at some more if you want, if you guys have time, if you're interested.
I apparently have 3 hours till I can pick up my car, so I have 3 hours.
Okay, we'll go through the leg one because that's usually quite a substantial video.
He looks good in black and white when you don't see all of the zits all over his body.
Oh, that's the worst
silhouette's
part.
good. Yeah, the silhouette's good. This kind of goes to our talk earlier about the lying leg curl.
Look at that.
Right, so here's a point of contention.
Yeah.
So you'll see here he's got his arms, like wrists, wrapped around the handles because the weight he's using is too hard. His hands are not strong enough to hold himself in, so he has to use more muscle groups to hold himself in. Then also the inertia is absolute trash. We'll just look a bit more at it and see what you guys think. So he's actually pulling himself forward into it to get the leverage.
That's what I was going to say. He's using his upper body to pull. He's like pulling in. He just lifts. It looks like, and like I said, I don't follow his workouts at all. I just watch his trash diet, but it looks like he lifts way too much weight than he should be lifting. I don't know if he's trying to prove himself or what, but that's why his technique looks like crap, is because he's lifting too heavy for where he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's bodybuilding, it's not powerlifting. The goal isn't to get the weight from A to B. Like you said, you're trying to activate muscle groups. You're trying to develop muscle tissue. And he's had a lot of stick online for like his diet and stuff and his training. He trains like this. I'm like, no wonder why. I don't think he really gives out training advice. I think he more so just records stuff and puts it on YouTube. But looking at this, I wouldn't look at this and think I'm going to get my mates to do it that I care about. This is sort of a program I put to people that I don't like, that I want to like die and injure themselves. So it looks like he's got 3 or 4 plates there. So 180 kilos. I could do this back in the day for 15 reps.
He's not extending fully. He's not going all the way up.
Yeah, it's bodybuilding. To be fair,
he's using his momentum. There you go. Now he's standing all the way up.
Yeah, in bodybuilding, we don't tend to go all the way up.
Really?
No. So say you're at lockout, the weight's just going through your spine. So imagine you just have a weight on your back, but it's not going through your thighs. So if you do the same position, but bend your knees maybe 10, 20%, the tension remains on the quadriceps. So if for bodybuilding purposes, it's not about getting to full lockout, if that makes sense. It's about tension on the muscle. Yeah. It's a different practice, really. One of the problems here is he's looking at the floor, then looking up, then looking at the floor again. Yeah. The problem with the squat is you can't reach true muscular failure, because to get to that level of failure on a squat, you end up needing a spotter, the things he has underneath him. You need someone to help guide you up and down. The cardiovascular difficulty of it will be so great that you'll never really get to failure. Like Jerome and I had this discussion before. I remember 5-6 months ago saying, have you ever done a set of squats to failure? And we're like, no, maybe once we sort of topped out at the bottom and we had to sit down, but that was it. We never actually trained to failure with a squat. So yeah, I don't know. Should we check on the chat and see what they think?
Go for it. Yeah, there's been a lot of. I haven't been following the chat, but yeah, a lot of people chiming in.
I had an issue I had to deal with. Neighbor's dog got loose and was chasing the ducks.
I know his diet is trash. I'm not really following that part, just the exercise part. Taking trips from multiple sources, trying out myself and picking the one that works best. Yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely an anecdotal kind of experience, but I wouldn't do exercises like this at all. I'm saying that because I don't want you to hurt yourself. Like it's an ethical obligation of mine and Jerome's. I'm sure the other guys here, like, not to suggest to train in a way that would hurt you. So, what's going on? We've got Carnivore Josh. Thank you for joining. Jonathan. Everyone can't spell my name right. I don't know why, but I'll take it anyway. I'll take the compliment. Yeah, Stephen and Richard are very underestimated. Yeah, I honestly think their advice is. I said this before. I think their advice is top 5 overall. So I put them in my top 5 people in the carnivore space if we're talking about nutrition alone. Yeah, they're very underrated. I think we've got the highest concentration of carnivore experts per land mass over here, but that doesn't leave many of us because we have like a tiny island. So, yeah, also bending his neck. Pick a weight where you can stand or kneel without holding on the bench. Yeah. I like to have as much contact with the floor as possible. So usually it means having a bench on you, so your chest is supported if you're doing a pull down or a row of some kind. I think you can find a way to work around the idea of not getting the ancillary muscle fibers activated. So, your lower back might not be activated as much. There is an exercise for that. So, the way I've set my program out is the same way Jerome has, and it's you pick exercises for different muscle groups that are safe. You just find a way to train them really hard. That's literally it. In all fairness, you have no context. I'm not sure. Is that to me or to someone in the chat? I can't tell.
They're talking about us critiquing his workouts.
I don't know what the context is. The context is he has a video out, 2 videos out we just analysed. We see him nearly injuring himself and training ineffectively. That is the context. If he's addressing us, I don't know. I'm a bit confused there. In weightlifting, pain is gain, no shortcuts. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Jeff Cavalier, Athlean diet trash as well. Yeah, there's so many people out there that are like sitting ducks for us to critique and stuff, but it's just picking the right people, I've still got a list of critiques I need to get through from Rick and Nicole. Actually, they've given me. I think they've got about 4 or 5 to do at some point. So I've got content for the next few months probably.
And Nicole has one to do too.
Yeah, from Rick.
That idiot vegan.
Yeah.
That guy, right. I don't know. Every time I see him, I could barely stop laughing. All the BS that's coming out of his mouth.
Yeah. Oh, so we did miss a question actually from Andrew. Hi Andrew, thank you for joining. Apologies, we just missed your question. I like to do running events, but I do no specific training for it, just resistance training and daily activity. I run faster times than many who train by running. That's good going. It's probably the diet then, isn't it? It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be. What do you think the best method of improving mobility and flexibility is? Mobility, it always comes down to mobility for what? I wouldn't recommend resistance training if your goal isn't to build muscle or be strong in difficult areas of movement, such as a chest press back here. I'd only think you need as much mobility as what you need to do your day-to-day stuff. I think forcing it probably isn't helpful because ultimately if your day-to-day living, the work you have to do each day doesn't involve mobility, it's a bit of a waste of time trying to train for it. Now, if your goal is flexibility for some reason, I'd probably look at some kind of very light warm up first. Ideally, be warm first. Then I'd probably do static stretches, at least 30 seconds. And that's 30 seconds at the bare minimum. You can probably take up to about 2 minutes. I found after about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, I didn't get any further benefit to my flexibility. So I did this for about a period of maybe 3 months in 2021, where I do all the stretches, my lower back and thighs and hamstrings and stuff. And I found about a minute and a half was about as far as I could go before I couldn't then get any greater degree of flexibility, if that makes sense. They say I could touch my toes. I couldn't then touch my toes and then some after 2 minutes, you know. Rick, when was the last time you touched your toes?
A few minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you're more bendy than me.
I sit in some pretty weird ways too, as you can see.
Yeah.
It looks like the microphone's up your nose. I remember when I was obese, I couldn't see my feet standing up. I can see my feet now, so I can probably touch my toes now.
You know how some people chew their fingernails? I could chew my toenails. I could chew my toenails.
No, Rick.
Yes.
Live on camera. I'm not sure if I want to see it. I don't want to see it. But
I don't want to see it. No.
I'm a bloke. I can handle these things.
You know, for someone as tall as I am, everybody gets a laugh. When I was having the barbecue at my friend's place, I was sitting on the ground. And they always say, I don't know how you can do that. And his son, that's like 20, can't do it. So I'm not sure exactly how I got so flexible.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I used to be more flexy when I was younger. Back in the day. Yeah, I don't specifically train for it at all now. I do some stretches in the morning or maybe in before bed, but it's not. I don't have any structure to it. It's just if some muscle groups feel tight, I'll hold a stretch for about a minute. But that's about the extent of my deliberate stretching, you know.
Since Rick put his foot up to his head, I kind of want to do it too, but I'm not wearing socks. Like, I'm really tempted to bring my foot up, but it's not going to go very far. I know Jonathan can't because he's got an injured back, so he probably can't. But I don't want to show people my actual feet though.
Okay. I'm curious to how high I can get my knee actually.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just.
Oh God.
There you go. There you go. Not bad.
Nope.
That's about it for me.
That's it.
I had to like put my neck into my leg. Rick
Jeez,
just
that's
like
intense.
brought that. Just kidding, I didn't. Susie's saying carnivore yoga.
Carnivore yogi, yeah. I did actually interview the carnivore yogi actually maybe a few months back, like 4 months ago. But her name is Barbara Schutte. If you want to see that interview, yeah, Schutte, but it's pronounced it's spelled like SCHUETTE. I think her stuff or her brand is like Lotus Room Yoga, something like that. Which is pretty sweet. But yeah. Can you imagine if there was like one day like a carnivore yoga, like a live stream or something, where everyone just sits there on the floor with all the mats and things? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Andrew's hit that nail on the head. I think we need a lot more people like that. I think a lot of the people in the carnivore space, like, it's good because they deliver information, like the doctors, nutritionists, people like that. But it's like we need something else, like another angle, because a lot of people don't necessarily resonate with me or Nicole or Bart K or I don't know.
Who doesn't
Dr.
resonate with
Chafee.
me? Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
Holy moly.
I think maybe the Paul Saladino crowd might have more like that.
I will get the carb munchers.
Yeah, but I think that's raised a good point actually. I don't know what angle you'd take really. I mean, there's lots of everyday people as well. Like I say, most of the everyday carnivore name channels are everyday people. Like Bob, for example.
Yeah, he does walking and stuff. Not a lot of people do walking and walk talk content.
Yeah, that's true. I want to do some more of them. I'm just too lazy to set up all the equipment. And often it's raining here, so that means I have to use a different muzzle for the microphone, which is a bit
Yeah.
annoying.
I'm
I don't
trying
like
to do
that.
more vlogs. They don't do as well. They're like nothing does as well as my reaction videos. I'll do like a talking head video and no one cares. No one wants to see Nicole. They want to see me use my soundboard and stuff. But yeah, I do want to walk around with my camera more and show what I eat in a day and stuff like that. I don't think
Yeah.
a lot
I
of
saw.
maybe I'll draw in more people who will care.
I commented on your walking video.
You did, thank you. You
Yeah.
actually trashed where I live.
Yeah, you live in a very
that, yeah.
drab-looking place. I don't know. I could never live like that. I'd go crazy.
Great, you'd like it where I live. There's ducks about
Oh,
100
That's a
meters
good
from
thing.
where I'm sat right now.
ducks are always good. You know,
And swans.
in my ideal neighborhood would be like the Addams Family and the Munsters for neighbors.
Yeah, my neighborhood's very, very elderly and stuff. Nothing really happens down. You'd be, if a car drives by, everyone twitch the curtains. Is that what's going on? It's one of those sort of neighborhoods. Yeah, quite pleasant where I live. So where Sophie lives, she's got a big lake, maybe 4 or 5 miles away that we often walk around. Makes a nice like little day trip, and they've got a park there, so we'll go there sometimes. So we enjoy all that stuff. I think that stuff gets taken for granted a lot, and if people like us don't use it, they'll just demolish the stuff and build houses around it. And in my area, my neck of the woods, it's all care homes, residential living.
Yeah, they got that here too.
Yeah.
We do have the canal. When I get that camera that JT's sending me, I'm going to make some videos of iguana hunting.
Oh yeah. Oh, the guy on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. The one that was with Carrie, his friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Nicole, are you up for doing a live stream one day, a long one?
A long one? If you're talking 24 hours, I don't know. Define long. You're also 5 hours ahead.
For me,
Yeah.
6 hours. That's a long time.
Okay. I mean, why not?
I was
We
thinking
can
of having.
mukbang. We can do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I can set up my table space here with just loads of meals and snacks.
Yeah.
Rick can set up in the kitchen or something and just have food cooking on the go.
Yeah, or outside. If I get another one of them delicious steaks, I'll put that out on my homemade grill.
I'm down. By the way, I just bought a mini drone. I'm gonna bring to
wow.
California this weekend. I'm meeting Christy, meeting Wellness. She lives 45 minutes where me and my husband will be for the weekend. So we're meeting up. Of course, we're gonna record it. But yeah, I bought a drone, so I'm gonna try to make some good quality lifestyle content if I
There
don't
you go.
crash it on first flight.
I'm sure you'll get it under control.
I could fly it around the house during our long marathon stream too. You could just see it buzzing in the background.
There you go.
You want to get StreamYard attached to a phone or camera or something and a drone. Really good. I looked at getting one of them. Sophie won't let me have one of them because I'll be too dangerous with it.
Why?
I'll be flying it into the neighbours' windows and seeing what they're doing.
That's what I'm saying. I'm always looking into the neighbors' windows whenever we're walking around our neighborhood. I'm always looking. My husband calls me a creeper because I'm like, oh, what are they watching?
Yeah.
You can't see my windows from the street.
You quite inset then, I guess.
It's a jungle. My yard is a jungle. People
Oh.
think it's an empty lot. That's the funny thing.
Really hidden away, I guess. Then.
Yeah. It used to be grass, but I just got tired of it. I said, you know what? I'm going to go natural. So I put a bunch of bushes and bananas and ducks and everything. It's the way I like it. No grass to cut. It's all dirt now.
Yeah.
Ducks ate it all.
Carnivore mukbang. Okay. Carnivore. I can do that. Mike can come on.
There you go.
Yeah, get some snacks in.
Yeah.
I'd have the best feast, I think.
What's
You
a
would have the
snack?
best feast.
I don't do snacks anymore. Yeah, I'll probably have like carnivore cake, carnivore protein butter bites.
I'm gonna have my Greek
Carnivore Muscles
yogurt.
Ultimate Protein
I have
Anabolic
people
Shake.
throwing like tomatoes and stuff at the screen, watching me eat my yogurt.
With like 2 blueberries in it.
Rick's Protein Bar, New York Strip.
Yeah.
Mike, would you come
Yeah.
on with us? Would you mukbang with us? Your OMAD?
Let's try this question out from Justin Davis. Thank you for joining. How often do you recommend to eat liver? I think it's not really that complicated to answer. I'd say if you get a taste for it, enjoy it. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend, frequently eating it. As in, I wouldn't recommend like having it as a staple in your everyday diet. I just have it based on when you fancy it. You'll find eventually soon enough if you have it every day, if you don't want it anymore, because your body will say, "Oh, that was horrible." You'll start to get headaches and stuff if you get some sort of mineral toxicity, I imagine. What do you guys think? Do you guys consume liver or anything like that?
Oh, hell no. Blech. But you should know the answer to that. But yeah, like Jonathan said, and you don't need a lot of it either. And that's where a lot of people find themselves in trouble when they have organ meat. They treat it like like any other meal in their diet, and they'll eat a huge portion of it, and that's where people get into problems, because it is very, very nutrient dense and packed with vitamins and minerals, and you truly don't eat a lot. So if you are going to have liver, just have a small portion. Don't eat like chunks and chunks and chunks of it, because you will feel that aftermath. So if you are going to do organ meat or anything like that, especially liver, you don't need a lot.
Well, liver is addictive. I get my hands on liver. I eat way too much of it. Usually, I'll have a quarter pound of liver a week. That's pretty much what I like to have now. But I've had a quarter pound of raw liver a day when I was younger for years, and it never had any bad effect. But
When you were younger?
when I was younger, yeah, when I was started the carnivore diet, because I used to watch the Dukes of Hazzard, and Boss Hogg used to eat raw liver, so I would do that to gross everybody out. It was always fun. I'd take it to school with me. People would throw up. They'd get sick. Oh, how terrible. They wouldn't bother me anymore, so I got used to it. But now, maybe a quarter pound of liver a week. That's about it. And, of course, I used to love cod livers. That's like candy for me. I love cod livers. It's just like you. Well, yeah, I know how much you love sardines.
Oh,
So. You ought to see, I had a 10-can sardine challenge, and I can eat more than that. So, my diet is weird.
I think that's because, like, someone actually went on stream and said I think it was Erin, said she made the mistake on looking at sardines and she got grossed out. Like, one, they're nasty, but my dad, well, first off, we would go into the grocery stores in New Jersey. I don't know how they are in every other state. We'll go past the seafood section. The fish will be in the little cases on ice with the eyeballs still in its head staring at me. And that grossed me out. And one year for Christmas, my dad's Italian, makes the Italian, fish and pasta Christmas dinner. He was gutting fish. My mom and I came home from the store.
Fish head.
I went into the kitchen and I asked him what he was doing. So he proceeded to take the fish head, make his mouth move, and chase me out of the house saying, "Come here, Nicole." Like, I'm scarred between the grocery store with the eyeballs and the fish heads, walking past the counter, them staring at me, and then my dad chasing me with a fish head. I want nothing to do with fish. Nope. Traumatized.
There's not many like animal foods that make me feel nauseous. I don't think I'm squeamish of anything. Like, I'll eat pretty much anything.
Brussels sprouts?
No way. No. Sophie would get upset with me if I ate even one of those. I don't deal with the sulfur too well sometimes. But I've had brain before. That was fine. I'd have that again. Not nearly as repulsive as what you imagine. Most of it is just the texture of it, which is more the problem. I can get used to the taste of pretty much any of these organ meats, but the texture is a bit weird sometimes. One thing I do want to try is chicken hearts, but to get them, you have to literally go to a pet store, basically, to get... That's what they feed a lot of dogs and stuff, like chicken hearts. So it's some of these things, we can get all these things, but oftentimes they're like pet grade, so it's might be a bit iffy, I don't know. Probably just me being a bit pedantic, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy eating deer and elk heart. Quite strongly flavored, but I've always thought it was good. Probably is. Yeah. Sardines. Yeah, I couldn't do 10 cans. I could do like 2 cans probably. But I just lose interest after a while. I think they're quite a bland food, really. They're not nearly as strong as what people say they are. I don't think.
They're slimy and bleh.
They're not slimy.
Bleh.
What sardines are you having?
None.
Yeah. Pork is gross. It stinks when cooked. Yeah, I think that as well, but no one else agrees with me. I'm like, whatever. At the end of the day, if something smells bad to me, it's probably not meant to eat it for whatever reason.
Fish smells bad too when people pop that stuff in the microwave. Oh, man.
Well, I eat it in like cinemas and movie theaters and stuff.
Microwave.
Tuna fish? That's the worst smell.
I love tuna.
Yeah. Sophie does tuna scrambled eggs sometimes. She quite likes that. Yeah. I used to do that. I dieted, I think you guys probably know, I dieted on tuna and egg for like 5 months before. So dry, just like chewing. My jaw was always sore.
Oh.
I was eating like 5 cans of it a day. Not a massive amount of food if you look at the grand scheme of things, but just the same thing. So bland.
I'll take tuna and eggs. Hold the tuna.
You make pretty good eggs, to be fair. I've seen your eggs.
Yeah, my eggs are good.
All right.
They're fluffy.
Yeah.
First, you got to find the eggs.
Yeah. Pick up some chicken or duck somewhere, or goose.
Watch out for Mama Duck. She likes to attack.
Leave the duckies alone.
Whack.
My husband thinks liver is full of toxins because he was always told the liver filters toxins from the blood. Could you clear that up for us? He can't get past even try it. Yeah, this one's an easy one. Nicole, you'll know this one.
Go for it. You're the one that said this is an easy one. Go for it.
Yeah, well, the liver doesn't necessarily store toxins. It's more of a filter. A lot of the time, the body will detoxify itself if the animal is in a healthy state. Caveat. So therefore, there's not a great toxicity to the liver. But again, if you eat some liver and you get to a point where you've had so much of it, you'll lose the taste for it. We kind of mentioned this earlier a little bit, and it's a good way to sort of overlap. The main thing is like you're eating a healthy animal. If you look at the toxicity level of an unhealthy animal versus a healthy animal, obviously it depends animal by animal. Whether it's bred here, farmed here, sourced here, whatever. But there's the toxicity issues are probably a bit overstated if you're looking at the contaminant side of it. What do you guys think?
I mean, the liver is the most nutrient dense organ. 1 and 2, it stores a lot of our minerals as well. So yeah, it's the kidneys and liver are detox. Yes, it's getting rid of the toxins such as booze, alcohol. But that doesn't mean it stores alcohol. It gets rid of it. It stores and makes minerals and vitamins and nutrients that our bodies actually need. So that's why it's one of the most nutrient dense organs and foods actually probably on the planet. But what do you think, Rick?
Well, liver, obviously, if it was really toxic, you would see that it's diseased. When you kill an animal, you can look at the condition of the liver and see if it was a healthy animal or not. And I've noticed that anytime that you catch something wild, you can always tell by the liver. The liver is the one thing that can regenerate quite effectively. So if it looks diseased and fatty and it has scarring and it has, fibrosis or whatever, you could tell. So, everything's going to be toxic. You got mercury in fish and lead and who knows what else. But I can't imagine the liver being any worse than any other part of an animal. Like you said, I'm sure the kidneys would be worse. Anyway, kidneys are nasty tasting, so that might be something there to think about.
Do you think it'd be useful to put the animal you're about to slaughter for its liver on a dry fasting protocol?
Well,
till death.
I don't know about that. That sounds like a bad idea to me.
Leave the duckies alone.
Duckies.
Yeah. I think we have Aaron in the chat by the looks of it.
What's
apparently.
up? What's up, Aaron?
What?
By the looks of it, it looks like we have Aaron in the chat. By the looks of it,
Well, it does. Yeah. Subscribe to. Oh, I won't say. Subscribe to the person on the screen right now if you're interested in content related to low carb
and coffee.
And coffee. That's my shout out. There we go.
To this person on the screen.
I don't like to do too many shout outs because it spoils the novelty of it. Oh dear. I think we're up to date with questions, aren't we? I think so. Yeah, I think people are just talking about. Baddest cat. I'm gonna have to try tuna scrambled eggs. You're on your own with that one, dude. Gross. Blech. Yeah, it's not the worst thing. I'll probably do more egg to tuna ratio. Personally.
Well, you eat with your nose first, and just the smell of tuna is just nasty.
I don't know. I used to be a bit offended by it, but now not so much. Like I just eat it. I think for me it just tastes quite salty.
Yeah.
That's about it. Dry and salty is what I come across. All right, I think we're gonna probably wrap it up around right now. Now, as promised, I did mention that I'd reveal something to the audience if they stay to the end. That is simply that next week, Jeremy and I will be unveiling our masterpiece, which is named to be disclosed at a later date, but it's an ebook on carnivore bodybuilding. And that'll be a nice surprise for you guys. So you'll be able to check that out and purchase it from next week. I believe I'm going to put it out on Monday, perhaps. Just have a start of the week and stuff. It'll retail, I believe, to be confirmed, at £20 British, which works out something like $24 US. I understand for some people that probably sounds expensive. When you look at the grand scheme of things, that it's about 4 decades worth of experience in the nutrition and training field. You've actually got 2 people with relatively good experience and expertise in those fields. So Jerome has written most of the training aspect of it, and I've written most of the nutrition aspect of it, based on our professions and what we do for a living. So yeah, we've kind of come to agreement with what we think is optimal. We put the best methodology possible to change your body composition using the carnivore diet, and probably any diet in that respect. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Like I said, it'll be about £20 British. I'll be sending a copy to Nicole, Rick, and a handful of you guys that are in the chat right now, probably. I believe Ben will get one, and also the other longest serving members and each of my channel moderators as well will also get one. So that's just to say thank you for your time and presence on my channel, and patience, as it's taken me, I'd say, at least 9 months to write this book. So yeah, it's going to be about 150 to 160 pages long, and it's not filler. It's not glossing over every little minute detail, but it's explained in such a way that it gives you all the information you need and nothing more. Which is, I think, it's important. A lot of books go roundabouts trying to explain a simple concept. We've not done that at all. We've written it in such a way to be as accessible as possible to everyone. So hopefully you'll like that one. Again, I'm just going to go to the chat and just answer any last remaining questions we have before we wrap up. Justin said, you guys should do this again sometime. Good stream. Yeah, I'd rate it 9.8 out of 10. 0.2 deducted because Jerome left because he got scared.
But I should have made up points because the party started when I got here, right? Just say yes.
Yes. All the sound effects.
Hey.
Yeah.
Quack, quack, quack.
Rick, you need a soundboard to do the quack button.
That's funny.
Wank.
Yeah. I need to get one of those actually on my thing. I was going to ask about a training book today, How Fortuitous. Yeah, it's coming out next week. It'll honestly, I think it's excellent. Honestly, I don't say about many things I produce. I've made maybe 2 videos in my 1 year of YouTube, which I thought were really good videos. So that speaks volumes about my standards and also Jerome standards. And Jerome wouldn't put his name on anything unless it was good. You watch his YouTube videos, watch how concise he is his terminology, how well detailed and explained his videos are. You'll find that same detail in the books, but to the right degree that you need as a consumer, as an avid reader. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, guys. Do you guys have any last words? Also, feel free to plug your YouTube channels as well.
I'm happy I was able to pop on. I was just getting done an interview with Coach Steven, actually. If you like fun reaction videos and soundboards, feel free to drop me a sub. Check out my channel. I'm at Former Fat Girl on YouTube. And that's my quick plug.
Well, if you want to see a total quack and someone that's a car guy that's been on YouTube for 15 years and on the carnivore diet for 40, all you got to do is look for a Charger Mopar or look up the 40-year carnivore. There's only one of me, 6 foot 6 inches tall, of complete, well, I don't know how to describe it. I'm
raw
quite,
masculinity.
let's put it that way. Yeah, with little skinny arms, I got no muscle, but hey, what I lack here, I make up for up here.
Hey.
And in your heart as well, Rick.
Oh, that's true too. And I haven't had a heart attack yet, so I guess the heart must be going strong.
But have you had scurvy?
Oh, I don't know. I think I have it all the time. I mean, I have a heart attack every so often. Every time I have my heart attack burger or heart attack chicken, I got to make a pacemaker pizza. I haven't made one of those in a long time. But, hey, it's all in good fun. The trick with this lifestyle is to have as much fun as you can, even when things don't go your way. And that seems to be the road to success.
I agree. I love what you're doing. Otherwise, it's not worth it at all. You spend longer on the treacherous path and you do enjoying the peaks of the mountain, I think. Excellent.
That's right.
I'll wrap this up, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you also to Jerome, Nicole, and Rick for joining. As mentioned, their YouTube channels are on the display right now, at Former Fat Girl and at Charger Mopar. If you want to subscribe to Jerome for whatever reason, I don't know why, that's at Jerome Armstrong. Those will also be in the show notes of my video description. And if you're watching the end of this for some reason, haven't watched the start of it, and you're looking at this after the fact of it being recorded, you'll find the full list of topics of choice being discussed today in the description box below. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
All right.